In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to add items to the playlist in Instant Song Presenter. And there's actually a couple of ways to do that. We can either scroll down through here, grab one of these, and then this button over here, Add to Playlist, will add that item to the playlist. You can also simply scroll through the database and drag and drop these songs onto the playlist down here. And you'll see we can just add a few here. Now once they are in the playlist, we can also drag them around and reorder them based on how we want them to play in our worship service. Now once we've got a playlist we like, we can save it, obviously. If we've saved one, we can open it, or we can create a new playlist. Using the loop function would allow this playlist to go through all of these songs and then loop back up to the first one. Probably more useful for something like announcements that you might play at the beginning of your service, but that's an option there. Now each of these items can also be customized to look exactly the way I want by using the settings for this item. And once we go into the settings, you'll see we can set a screen order for this item, which if we use the in, out, and next function, we can add a transition at the beginning, at the end, and then go on to the next button, which will allow us, if we do that to each item in my playlist, that'll allow me to use the next button on the control rack to simply go through the entire playlist by hitting the next button or the right arrow on my keyboard. I can just go through it basically the way you would a PowerPoint, rather than using the interactivity that you usually do have in Instant Song Presenter. That would be especially helpful if you're using a PowerPoint remote control. That would allow you to set this up, set up a playlist, and then control the whole thing from a remote control somewhere else. Now you'll see if you don't want to use the default settings for this item or the default settings that you set in the preferences of Instant Song Presenter, you can use custom settings. If you check on that, if you click on that checkbox, then the items here will be used as the settings for this particular song. You can simply change the background if you want this background to be something different. If you want to even do more customization, you can go in and use the screen designer to set up fonts and colors of fonts and the layout of your text in here, which could include the multiple languages, things like that. The screen designer, there's a complete tutorial on the screen designer, so I won't go into that here, but you'll want to look at the tutorial on the screen designer to see how to change those kinds of things. You can also set this to display one phrase at a time for this particular item. You can change the transition effects for this item, both the text transition and the item transition, which difference being the text transition is the transition in between each verse in an item. The item transition is the very beginning transition between items. And then of course it gives you the option of a speed for that transition. Now this is also where you can set an individual accompaniment audio file. If you don't already have an audio file set in the main database, you can set it here and change it here to a different file if you want a different version or a different tune than what is set up in the main database. And you can check if you do have an item already, if you already have an accompaniment file attached to that database item, but you don't want to use it this time, you can uncheck use that, and then it won't play the audio file. And that's basically how to add and edit a playlist item.